out for me.
Some plants have extremely sensitive biological thermometers. For example, the leaves of rhododendrons curl when the temperature of the air around them is below 0 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so go ahead and stop there for 1 second. What does some mean?
That means more than 0.
Yeah, I like to replace some with at least 1.
At least 1.
So like at least 1 plant is extremely sensitive to temperatures. For example, we have this R's that curl when the temperature is below 0. I'm like, all right, cool. Moving on.
Similarly, mature crocus blossoms open in temperatures above 2 degrees Celsius. So, someone who simultaneously observed rhododendrons with uncurled leaves, crocuses with mature but unopened blossoms, and a thermometer showing 1 degree Celsius could determine that the thermometer's reading was accurate to within plus or minus 1 degree Celsius.
Ooh, interesting. All right, so what is our conclusion here?
Someone who, observed these two types of plants, I'm going to call them R plants. I don't want to struggle through that every time. With uncurled leaves, and then crocuses with mature but unopened blossoms, at 1 degree Celsius could determine, basically that whole last sentence is the conclusion.
Yeah. So we're saying like, hey, because we have these uncurled leaves with mature but unopened blossoms, and the thermometer is showing 1 degree, we're like, okay, this must be accurate to within plus or minus 1 degree. Is this a valid argument?
No.
Why not?
I don't know why.
Okay, so why does this person think that it is accurate?
Someone who simultaneously, so the R plants curl when the temperature of the air around them is below 0 degrees. And so if we're at 1 degrees, that means that they could be uncurled. They could be curled, but they might not be curled, because that 0.000001 to 1 degree Celsius is the range in which they could potentially be uncurled. No, they could be curled.
Yeah. So what I'm paying attention to here is I'm like, all right, so we got our R plants, and our R plants curl when the temperature of the air around them is below 0 degrees. So if it's less than 0 degrees Celsius, the R plants curl.
Right.
But then we talk about a different plant, right?
Right. And they open above 2 degrees Celsius. So they're going to, those plants at 1 degree Celsius are going to be unopened. And so that holds in what the guy is saying.
Yes.
But the first one does not hold, right?
So someone who simultaneously observed R with uncurled leaves. So let's talk about that for a second. So if we had R's with uncurled leaves, what do we think is true?
Right. It's above 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so we think it's above 0 degrees for the first part.
Right.
But then the second part says crocuses with mature but unopened blossoms. So what is true of these things with unopened blossoms?
Of crocuses with unopened blossoms, it has to be below 2 degrees.
Excellent. And then we have a thermometer that is showing 1 degree Celsius.
Right.
And then we say that, so the accurate must be within plus or minus 1 degree Celsius. I agree with you. I'm like, that seems pretty legit for me, right?
Right. Right.
And so if I'm wanting to destroy this, I think I have to show somehow, potentially, like, maybe, like, I guess what I would be looking for is like maybe these plants recently moved to this area and this is already happening, or maybe like how long does it take for like the plants to curl and the blossoms to open? Like, is it an automatic thing, or does it take a couple of days for it to happen?
Right.
So those are like my predictions of how I would weaken this.
So we agree from the stimulus that, like, his argument holds based on the evidence that he gave, but we had to weaken it with some outside information.
Yeah, yes. Because and that's what we get to do on weekend questions, right?
Right.
Well, and it holds as long as like the things that I mentioned are true, right? Like however long it takes to open, or it was there, like the thermometer, like the plants weren't just moved to this spot, this specific spot, and then just measured instantly or something.
Right. So I know the right answer to this because I've like worked through this problem.
I
but
actually have never done this question before. I think most questions I've done.
Okay, well, could you like do it and like kind of talk out loud? I'm curious to see your
Yeah,
thoughts.
no, of
All the
course.
answer choices.
All right, so A says neither R nor C bloom for more than a few weeks each year, and the blossoms of R growing in any area do not appear until several weeks after C growing in that area have ceased to bloom. So like my thoughts on this is like, okay, is that even relevant? I don't like it because we have the same thing happening, like at the same time.
Right.
But I'm not really like seeing anything else really going on. Did you like A at all?
No, I mean, it was wordy, so it like caught my eye. I was like, oh, maybe. But yeah, you're right. Like we have an instance a few weeks where they could be happening at the same time.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not really. B, okay, so I don't like many. So more than one. So probably like two or more type of thing. People find it unpleasant to be out. Like I don't care about people being unpleasant outdoors. Like
not relevant at all.
C, the climate and soil conditions that favor the growth of R are also favor. No, that isn't that. Who cares that the conditions are good?
Yeah.
Because the air temperature surrounding R, which can grow to 12 feet tall, is likely to differ from air temperatures surrounding crocuses, which are normally by more than 2 degrees. Okay, so I like D. It's not what I predicted, but it at least gives me an option of saying like, hey, do we even know that this temperature is the same? Because it could be, the temperature could be varying significantly because like where, because I want to know like where was the thermometer when they were measuring this?
Right. And
So
that's
like okay, good. And then E says certain types of thermometers that are commonly used to measure outdoor temperatures can be extremely accurate in moderate temperatures, but much less accurate in warmer or colder temperature range. Okay, but like what type of temperature is, like what type of thermometer is that? Like,
right, we don't know what kind they're using. Like it doesn't seem relevant.
yeah. So that E is wrong too. And so yeah, I would definitely go with D on this one.
Okay. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but where I got hung up on this question was like picking apart the specific numbers in the stimulus and like, and not like looking at it holistically and being like, oh, but wait, there could be like outside information. I was like, oh, but does it curl at this level? Does it like not curl at this level? I spent so much time doing that. And it was just really hard.
No, you're not alone on that. Like